Okay, here we are talking about the simple past versus the present perfect. And this is a tricky thing in English, is which one to use, the simple past or the present perfect. Okay, the simple past is a past form. We usually use it to describe an action, event, or state that was completed in the past. And it's separate from now, the moment of speaking. And it's important to understand that if it is not completed, you do not use the simple past. It's a common mistake for students to use the simple past for something that is not finished or completed. Okay, a 2009 study. Here I'm talking about 2009, so now I'm going to use the simple past for everything that was talked about. A 2009 study showed that a diet high in fruit and vegetables decreased the risk of heart failure by 37%. And here, I'm using the simple past to go with 2009. However, in this case, it is possible to also use the present tense. I must use the past here because this action was in 2009. This action, I might choose to use the simple past, as they've done here, in order to go with the reported verb here. However, it's also correct because if I know that this is still true, this fact is still true, it's also correct to use the present, the simple present there. Okay, in 1652, very much in the past, the first samples of tea reached England. Okay, simple past. By then, tea drinking was already popular in France. See, all of this is about tea very much in the past, using the past tense, the simple past. Okay, the present perfect is really a present form. We use it to describe an action or event or state that happened in the past or started in the past and is connected to now in some way. We're thinking about how the past affects the present. Okay, for example, research in the last several years has shown that people with some diseases often have low levels of vitamin D. More doctors are now having their patients tested for their vitamin D levels. Okay, this is something happening in the present because of this over a period in the past, and because of the connection to the present, I'm using the present perfect. He's been a teacher here for 10 years. This is very clearly present perfect because he's still a teacher here now. He became a teacher in the past. He's still a teacher now. If I used the simple past here, if I say he was a teacher here for 10 years, that means he no longer teaches here. It was in the past. But here, this is continuing in the present. The students love him, is in the present tense. He definitely deserves praise, another present tense verb. Okay, let's compare simple past and present perfect. Okay, we usually use the simple past with time expressions that indicate a finished time period. And here's a whole list of them. In 1990, in 2010, yesterday, last week, last night, last month, last year, a week ago, several days ago, a year ago. Always this word ago will signal the simple past. And then periods are in the past, from 1850 to 1860, from 7 to 10 o'clock. And then here are noun clauses when I was a child, when he was 10. Noun clauses that describe a period in the past. And then we use the present perfect with time expressions that indicate a time period up until now. And here's a list of them. Lately, so far, yet, before now, until now, in the past month, in the past few years, over the past few days, over the past year. Okay, these two phrases mean the same thing as these two phrases. In the past month is the same thing as over the past month. Okay, ever since I was a child. Sometimes we use the ever, sometimes we just say since I was a child, or since he was 10. And here's a list of time expressions that might be used with either the simple past or the present perfect, depending on what you mean. For example, let's see, we'll get some examples here, I think. Okay, with the time expressions that can be used with either the simple past or the present perfect, the choice of verb depends on how we interpret the event and when it happened. For example, I didn't see him today means I didn't see him at any time today. It also means I don't expect to see him today. Perhaps it's late at night. There is no likelihood that I'm ever going to see him today. I haven't seen him today means I haven't seen him at any time from this morning until now. And this has the feeling that maybe I will see him today. Today is not finished. There's still a chance that I'm going to see him before today is over. With the time expressions that can be used with the simple past or the present perfect, the choice of verb form depends on how we interpret the event, when it happened. Okay, I didn't see him for 10 years. This is probably a period of 10 years in the past, like from 1990 to 2000. I haven't seen him for 10 years means the period of time is from 2007 to now, or the past 7 years until now is the period of time I'm talking about. Let's go on here. And here are some common mistakes. People make a lot of mistakes with for and since. I have seen many things when I was a child. Okay, this is a period that's in the past. So I have to use the simple past. I've seen many things since I was a child. That means I'm still continuing to see things. I've been here since 3 weeks. Oh, there goes my alarm clock. That was my alarm clock, sorry. I've been here since 3 weeks. Doesn't make any sense, and I don't know what that means. I've been here for 3 weeks means that I came here 3 weeks ago, and I'm still here. Okay, I lived in Toronto for 3 years. This means I do not live in Toronto anymore. I moved. I'm in a different place now. So I really love it here makes no sense because it sounds like I still live in Toronto. And then when I say this, I lived in Toronto for 3 years. I really love it here. It's very confusing. I don't know if I still live in Toronto or not. But if I say I have lived in Toronto for 3 years, I really love it here. I know that, okay, I still live in Toronto. I moved to Toronto 3 years ago. I'm still in Toronto. I could also, if I don't live in Toronto anymore, I could use the simple past. I could say I lived in Toronto for 3 years. I really loved, past tense, I loved it there. He's the most optimistic person I ever know. Okay, this ever is a signal to use the present perfect. He is the most optimistic person I have ever known.